What's up, guys? Ivan with Gym Coaching here. I'm starting a little nutrition series, and I wanted to talk to you about the first topic to share with you today to get you on your nutrition journey and get you comfortable with your food, with your eating, your diets that you're trying, and just so that you understand some of the basics and the science behind nutrition so you can be successful. Okay? So today we're talking about energy balance. All right? When we're talking about energy balance, we're talking about the energy in versus the energy out. We can think about that as energy in being the food that you eat or your fuel, and the energy out being any activity that you do, the inner workings of your body, your exercises, and just random movements that you do throughout the day that burns calories. Okay? So when we're thinking about balance, we're talking about the energy in matching the energy out, which is what we would like to call maintenance. All right? And where you're at maintenance, that basically means like you're not losing any weight. All right. Now you might think that that's counterintuitive to your training and what you're all here for. Most people are probably here to lose weight. Some people are probably here to gain weight as far as muscle. And so you're wondering, why do I need to know about maintenance? Okay. Well, the reason to know about maintenance is just to kind of get an idea in your head about how much you should be eating just to maintain the weight that you're at. Okay. It's usually a good baseline or guideline to maybe start playing around with before you start deciding to cut your calories so that you can lose weight. Because we want to make sure that you're also losing weight effectively while at the same time not losing weight where you're going to be losing the muscle that you're working so hard to keep on your body. Okay? So that takes us to another point too, because when you're losing weight, you got to consider that you're losing weight either through losing fat or through losing muscle or both. If you're gaining weight through either building muscle or adding fat or both, okay? So I say that because it's not uncommon to see some people not really fluctuate in weight or they stay the same weight, but they start to look trimmer and more fit because they're adding muscle, which adds weight, but they're at the same time losing fat. And that's exactly what we want to shoot for, is burning the fat while at the same time gaining the muscle in your body so you look nice and toned, okay? And we'll touch more about that later in this nutrition series, okay? So so what we're going to be taking away today is actually, I want you to practice calculating your maintenance. So by the end of this video, you should be able to calculate your maintenance calorie, which is what you should be eating per day to maintain the weight that you're currently at, okay? Another point is this gives an idea of how much to be eating. We already touched on that. It's also a great starting point, which we also talked about. It's a great starting point to build or reduce from there when you start deciding what your goals are going to be as far as gaining weight or losing weight. And then it's important to understand, though, that what I'm going to teach you today is a very, very simplified method. There is a more advanced method that I can show you. It does involve a little bit more tracking, and it's actually very, very helpful. If you're interested in that, I'll make a video on that as well. But you can also reach out to me and say, hey, Ivan, I want to learn more about how to get more accurate with what I need to be eating for what I want to lose. Okay, but for today, we're going to be working with a very, very simplified equation. Now, before we get to the equation, it's important that you understand what's called an activity factor, or what you might see also called an activity multiplier. This is part of our equation for later. The activity factor is broken down into a number range, all right? It's broken down into a sedentary, light activity, active, or very active range, okay? There's an asterisk here because even though it's sedentary, light, active, or very active, this is taken into account your day-to-day mobility or movement, while also considering that you're still incorporating 3 to 6 days of lifting per week. Okay, so this doesn't mean that you are factoring only just your lifting. This is broken down based off of what your work life is, in addition to what your working out goal is. All right, so if you're hitting the 3 to 6 days of lifting per week, and let's say you have a very sedentary job, like working at a desk, you're on the computer at least 8 hours a day, you're sitting at home a lot, but you're still somehow getting your 3 to 6 days of lifting in, you're probably going to be in the sedentary range. And actually, this is the range that we probably want to stay most focused on, because that's a good place to kind of start and then play around with from there. All right, and I'll explain to you why here in a little bit. If we get into the light and active and very active, we're talking about jobs that maybe are a lot more involved. If you're having to lift things all day, if you're running around all day, like physically running around all day, or you're a coach and you're constantly working around with athletes and running around all day, you might be in one of these other levels, okay? But we always want to start with a sedentary level, okay? Now, let's get to the meat of this. Let's talk about our equation, okay? So this is the breakdown of the equation. You want to take your body weight in pounds times 10, which is going to be a constant, and then you're going to multiply it by your activity factor range. Since we're sticking with sedentary, we're going to be multiplying by 1.3, and our upper range is going to be 1.6. All right? So we'll use me as an example right now. I'm 183 pounds right now. Multiply that by 10, we're looking at 1,830. And then if we multiply it by the first part of the factor, the lower end, 1.3, we're looking at 2,379 calories per day. Okay? If I multiply all that by the higher end, we're looking at the 1.6, we're looking at 2,928. Okay? So what is that telling me? That eating somewhere between 2,379 calories and 2,928 calories, if I'm being sedentary but still working 3 to 6 days of lifting, that's about how much I need to be eating just to kind of stay at the weight that I'm at. Some of you might be looking at these numbers and be like, that's crazy. Like, that's a lot. Like, some people I've seen try to eat like 1,200 calories, 1,300 calories, and we're going to talk about the safe rate of calorie reduction to make sure that you're not losing muscle, okay? But that's basically my maintenance calories. That's basically what I would be starting out at and shooting for, to start focusing on my eating, looking at my eating and say, okay, let's see what it takes for me to eat to be at that maintenance calorie range, all right? So that teaches us the energy balance today and maintenance calories. Take an opportunity to calculate your maintenance calories and let me know or shoot me a message on what you calculated. I'd love to know. So one more thing I wanted to mention. There might be a question that's coming up. Okay, well, I'm not always going to be weighing 183 pounds. This might fluctuate from week to week. How often should I be changing this maintenance? We typically don't want to be making drastic changes week to week to week, right? So we probably want to make changes every 3 to 4 weeks, okay? Remember, this is, when it comes to this type of stuff, it's a long game. There's no quick fixes here. This is about developing the new habits that are sustainable so you can carry them on for the rest of your life. So that said, if I'm 183, but then I'm 182 on week 1, 181 on week 2, and then I'm 180 on week 3, maybe around there I'll do another recalculation, and I'll do 180 pounds times the 10 times the same factors and see what my new maintenance calorie range is, okay? Because the heavier I am, the more internal activity is involved to burn more of the calories that are necessary, okay? This is also another explanation as to why, as you start getting lighter and you start losing more weight or lose fat, you'll see that when you start getting more involved in your workouts, you're also burning less calories, okay? But again, metabolism and a bunch of other stuff works into that, and we'll discuss all that later, okay? So again, calculate your maintenance calories. Let me know what they are. Have a great day.